of a landscape that I went away for the weekend and went and saw some beautiful Australian countryside and some gorgeous forests, and I thought today I'm going to paint one of those scenes. I painted a few while I was away, which I will show you at the end, but I thought I just really found I've got some beautiful shadow play in the paintings, in the photographs, so I'm really excited to have a go, try and get the lights and darks and the shadows. So, and I've been doing lots and lots of practicing with my forest scenes. I've got to plug my phone in. I forgot to plug my phone in. That was silly. Hang on. Oops. There you go. She's plugged in. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so I have my reference photo right here, which I will show you. It is on my iPad. I took this the other day when I was out, and you can see all those beautiful shadows and lights. So I'm going to attempt, oops, paint that scene in this sort of long format. So I'm going to put, in my reference, the land is actually more than halfway up. You want everything sort of in thirds if you can, so it's slightly above centre there. I've put my base of my land. Then I'm going to start with the middle tree. So these are gum trees. This is central New South Wales in Australia. Gorgeous spot. Love the place. So there's a tree there, beautiful big old gum. There's a ton of trees behind it. Actually, I might have to make that a bit longer, like that. And in front of that is another gummy, like that. That comes down a fraction. So that's your horizon line, is the back line. So it's the highest part of the landscape. There's bent trees and fallen trees and all kinds of trees in the background. So I'm going to draw in another one here. Excuse me, puppy. Excuse my dog. Being a barky britches. Excuse me, Bear. Alright, come down here. Draw this one. I'm going to move my palette out of the way for a second. There's a tree off here. It's not exactly the same as the reference, but there's a branch that comes across there. A bit of a bent tree there. And the river's in the foreground, so I'll pop the river in as well. And there's lots of trees in the background there like that. Like that. And then, as we come down into the foreground, there's a little tree here. Like a broken branchy bit. It sits up like that. Then there's the water is down here. There's two ducks in the water. So I'm going to draw my water line like that. And there's a fallen tree in the edge of the water. So I'll draw that there. And the bottom of the tree's all broken off there. And it's resting in the water like that. There's a branch coming up off it here. Like that. Then the little ducks are in the water in the foreground. So, am I going to try and do the ducks? I should. So I'll draw a little duck here. Zoom in on them so I can see them. Little boy and a little girl duck. Little brown ducks. He sits there, and then there's a little girl duck sort of swimming this way. She's coming more towards us, so I'll draw her more that way. Or it doesn't matter, I can just draw her the same. She can just be sitting there like that. That's fine. And then there's shadows under them. that. There's branches coming into the water. Jaggedy edge on the rock, on the log. Okay, I reckon I'm just going to erase that little bit there. Get rid of some of that horizon line. Oops. Like that. And start. So, I am going to get some of my paint out the way, grab my bit of cloth, and I'm going to start with a light. Actually, I'll start with the background. I'm going to start with a blue sky background, which will shine through a little bit. So I'm going to go blue and white. So I'm going to go a bit of cobalt blue. I'll wet my brush. She's a bit dry. Bit of white. Like that. That'll be a nice light blue background. And I'm going to cut in behind these trees. Quite watered down. I'm just going to leave the shapes of the trees standing out. So I'll just fill in these gaps, or the negative space they call it. Just for the sky, grab a bit more blue and a bit more white. There we go. Drag that down a fraction. Like that. I'll do distant trees in the background as shadows and stuff, but first things first, I'll just do sky just to block that in. Okay. Put that right into the bottom. Okay, so now I'm going to do the gum trees. Now, our gum trees in Australia are lots of pinks and whites and lighter colours. But I'm actually going to start with a yellow ochre and a white mix. I'm going to change this brush. This brush has gone hard on me, so I don't want that. I want a squishy brush. So I'll grab my size, oops, a daisy, size 8, so it's silver black velvet. Go some yellow ochre and some white. And I took this little palette away that up the top right hand corner, you can see. Yeah, I took this little palette away with me for the weekend and tested it out in the bush, and it was awesome. Absolutely loved it. So I'm just going to get a bit more white to that. I want that really quite pale. And then I'm going to pop in these gum trees. Or eucalypts. They're just gorgeous. The kind of tree koalas live in. Didn't see any koalas. Saw lots of emus though. Lots of emus running around. Got a few photos I'll have to show at some point. All right. So this is the bottom layer of the gummies, the gum trees. This is a very milky coloured paint mix. So it's just yellow ochre and a lot of white to make this colour. Sort of almost a birch tree colour. Birch trees are a fraction more pale. Let's continue on. The background's going to be full of trees, so when I get to it. Now these trees lose their bark, hence the light colour, but they do hold their bark at the base of them. So, which is really quite pretty. If you Google Australian gum trees or Australian snow gums, oh my gosh, they're so pretty. They're like all the colours of the rainbow when they get wet. We've got one out the back here. I'm just sitting here looking at it. Okay. They do tend to drop a lot of branches. You don't camp underneath them. I guess because you're likely to get one fall on you. Especially at this time of year, they drop their branches. All right. Then I'm going to fill these ones in. This is a rough base colour. And there's grass in front of them and bark and all kinds of things. Fill this one in. Fill the base of the root ball at the bottom because it's fallen down. All right, now I'm actually going to add a little bit more white onto this leading edge. I'm going to add this at the end, but I'll do it now because it just gets the brights sort of showing into the trees and give you an idea of where I'm going with the lights and shadows. So the light's coming down from the right hand side. I'm going quite thick. You can see I've got other colours mixed in with my paint by accident because I took my palette out and it dropped it a couple of times. So my paints have mixed on the palette just a little bit, but that's okay. You can still get mostly what I want. This branch here is quite in the light. That sort of helps to guide me to see where the shadows will be. All right, now the grass is also pretty much the same kind of colour. There's lots of shadows through it. So I've got to make a strawy colour, but I'm going to go with more yellow ochre, less white. Might even add a little bit of yellow to the yellow ochre, just to yellow it off a bit. And then block that in as the grass. Let's do a light wash of that. It actually looks very green on screen, on my screen anyway. But that's okay. Cut around these branches. I'll just block all this in and come up over the bottom of the tree there because the grass comes around the edge of the tree. Right. Fill in this side, just block it in. And our water's quite browny green, so that'll be interesting to try and mix up the browny green colour, which I will do. And then I'll start to put the lights and the darks and all the fun bits. I'm just blocking in for a beginning. Okay. And I will go over that with lights, darks, shadows, all kinds of fun stuff. Now I'm going to make the browny green for the water, and I'm going to go bit of burnt umber. I'll just stick it onto my yellow ochre, it won't matter. And I'm going to I'll add a bit of green on the top bit here just to make a lighter green. Actually, that's not a bad colour for the water. I'll add a little bit of brown to it. Our water is quite muddy, browny looking. And I'm going to go in with water up there. I'll cut around the ducks. Just carefully use the tip of my brush to cut around these little duckies. And they're really just bean shaped. They'd be easy if I paint over them. I can just redraw them in with paint at the end. All right. Come all the way to the bottom. Now, having another quick look, I'm going to add a bit more green, a bit of a stronger green in directly, actually, a bit more brown to that. Darken up, make more of a greeny muddy brown, like that. That's better. Less green. Less light green anyway. And then I'm going to come down and get some of these shadowy bits on the water. You can cut around the duck. Like that. There's lots of light play on this water, so it's lights and darks and all sorts of stuff going everywhere. Which I might even just take that right up to that little duck. Like that. Then pop in some ripples. Little ripples. And I'm going to go in with the white and put my little white ripples in. I've got a bit of white here because there's a light bit coming down here. I'll do it in like Z's. Like that. The little reflections on the water. I can see it in a couple of areas. Get a bit more here. Getting bigger into the foreground. I can add highlights on that in a minute. Towards the end, more towards the end, I'll add the final highlights. But right for now, I'll just pop in some little reflection ripples. Get a bit more pure white. Like that. And I'll let that dry. And I'll go into my trees. Okay, so my trees have got lots of lights and darks and greys. So I'm going to make a grey. So I'm going to clean my palette at one. Actually, no, I don't need. Oh, yeah, well, clean my palette a fraction. And I'm going to go burnt umber and blue. Makes a really nice grey. Burnt umber, and I'll go cobalt blue. Makes a nice light grey. Like that. And then I'm going to add a touch, just a touch of white to that. Give my brush a bit of a mop off. Whoops, a daisy. So that's made a light grey. And I'm going to start. I need to add a little bit more brown. That's a bit too grey. A bit more brown. There we go. It's a bit better. And I'm going to come down the dark side, the shadow side of these trees. I'll leave little shimmers of the bark coming through. And it's much darker at the base. Coming up to there. And then it's dark on this side of this branch. Coming down into that V. Add a couple of little ripples of dark there. All right. And then I go on to the next tree. Same thing. Come down the shadow side. Leaving the light. I'm leaving it a little bit rough because the light does reflect in different spots on the tree. Exactly the same on all the trees. Go down the shadow side, the whole length. You can leave little snips of light, but right down to the ground. For the trees in the very furthest background, I'm going to use a purple because they're distant. You can not really see a lot of detail on them. That branch there, the underside of it's in shadow. And this side's in shadow. Like that. Okay, I'm going to get a purple. I've got that on my other palette. Actually, I'll make it purple. Go like an indigo. That's green. Go dark blue. Dark blue. Where's my colour wheel? Where's my colour wheel? I want to make a deep dark purple, so I would add red, orange to blue. So a red and an orange, a reddy orange. So I'll go red, bit of red, bit of orange. Make it a muddy orange. There we go. Bit of blue. Make a shadowy colour. Shadowy tree. There we go. Makes a muddy sort of purple colour. All right. And I'm going to pop in the background here. Just trees. Just off in the distance. They don't have to be detailed. They can just be the shadowy silhouettes. Like that. And that just pushes them back into the distance. I'll just get my brush and just pick that up a little bit. Spread it around. So when the grasses and everything's done, you won't even see that they'll just be so off in the distance. I just fill in that background where the shadows are. All right. Now, more detail on this tree in the foreground. I'm going to go back to my brownie colour. If I want, because this one, I didn't do this one. The one that's sitting on the water, the whole bottom side of that. It's quite dark. There's a little bit of light reflecting on the bottom. I'll come right up to that bottom bit. Dark under there. Okay. Get a bit of wood texture going on in there. Bit of dark going on in the bottom where the root ball is. Okay. So now I'm going to go in. I'm going to use my burnt umbery colour here. Actually, I'm going to clean that off. I got it a bit wet. That was my shadow colour. And I'm going to go a light yellow ochre with white. I'm going to pop some of that. A bit more white. The grasses around the base, because our grass is very light at this time. It's all dead. So it's all grey, light pinky grey. So I'm just going to add that grass texture now over the top. Leave a little bit of the original, oops, a daisy, doesn't matter. A little bit of the original colour popping through. Go even pure white in a couple of spots because the light's hitting the ground quite vibrantly in a few spots. So I've got a little bit of grey in that, doesn't matter. I'm just doing rough marks. I'm not fussing as much with detail just yet. Now I'm going to make a darker brown with the burnt umber. I'll add some burnt umber. And then I've got to come down the back of these trees, the foreground trees. And this will also help the back ones to disappear into the distance. And they've got more bark at the bottom coming up like that. It's all like stringy bark. So I continue on. I'll just draw a little bit of bark texture like that. Hello, Bacon. How are you, mate? Again, continue on down this tree. I'll add a few different colours. This is just the initial layer. Come to right up to the bottom of the trees. All right, down the back of this one, get a bit more burnt umber. All the way to the bottom. There's dark on the bottom of this one. Having a quick look, and there's also shadows around the trees, which I will add. Okay. You can see as you start to build the layers, starts to help it look a bit more like something. Still quite abstract, like trees are quite abstract, which is fun because I'm not an abstract artist at all, not even a little bit. But it teaches you to see shapes better. Trees are really good because they are just shapes. Everything's just shapes, but your mind, when you say look at an animal, you know it's a cat, a dog, or whatever. But a tree is really just an abstract shape. So it's lots of fun to try and practice. It's super dark along the bottom. I'll make an even darker dark for that as well. That one's almost all in shade down here. Excuse my dog snoring. I can hear my dog snoring under the bed, under the table. Okay, brown. I'm going to add a bit of blue and make it super dark. So to make my brown all very dark, I'm going to add blue. Take that along the base of that tree. You can see it starts to give it that look. I won't go as intensely. I'm just going to pop this dark on the deepest, darkest areas. Back side of the tree. Don't want it absolutely everywhere because it'll be too heavy. Just at the base of the trees. Put it on that branch in the back. Whoops. Down that side there. Underside. I can put it on the very back trees as well, but not solid, just so it's just visible. I should have left that one. That's okay. Come down here. Can do a little swirly bit there. Come down to the bottom of this tree. Got to get a bit more brown, a bit more blue and brown up there. Need it to be a bit stronger up the top of that one. Just here. There we go. That's a bit better. And then I've got to try and start to get the light reflecting onto the ground and stuff. And I'll use this same colour because it's a pretty good shadow colour. I'm going to go right along the very bottom of this log. I could almost even go like a Payne's grey down there. Super dark. All right, having a look. Right, so I'm going to make a purple. That was an orange. Purple? Oh, purple was orange. Orangey red and blue. There must be a better way of making purple for me. I want to make it dark. Hang on. I want a shadow purple. It's not happening. Okay, I'm going to make that a little bit more blue in it. Okay. And I'm going to come across here and start to add shadows across the ground. Because there's all kinds of modelled shadows across the ground. Fill that in. Like that. There's a shadow coming across there. Bright light down there. Because there's all grass and all goodness knows what, sort of creating its own little shadowy textures. And then I can do grass over the top. I'll also add that down onto some of these background trees just to, so they're not so flat. Like that. All right. Now I'm going to go in with my white again onto top of my yellow ochre, but I'm going to add a ton more white and a bit of yellow. And I won't go yellow, I'll just go the white. Then over the top, I'm going to add some more grass texture. I need that to be even darker, you know. I'm meant to be brave. I'm going to put some grass around the bottoms of these trees. Come into these shadowy areas. I'm just going to make a blue and a brown to make a dark grey. Need a bit more brown. And add that into this shadowy colour. Sort of figuring it out as I go. I need that to be even darker again. So I'm going to go purple from my other palette. And I'm going to add a blue to that. Try and darken it up. That's a bit better. That's a better shadow colour. A bit of purple, a bit more purple in there. That's a better shadow colour. And I'm going to go on the top of, oops, days, I might have to let that dry a fraction. Yeah, we're going to have to let that dry a fraction. Get a bit more blue, a bit more purple. All right, for now I'm going to let that dry and I'm going to go into clean my brush, get some pure white. I'm going to come back into the brightest brights. On this side of this tree. I could even put a little bit of yellow, you know, because that would help to make it pop. And I've got to put some green for the leaves. Down this branch here. Get my pure white, clean my brush, dip back into my pure white, get quite globby thick paint on there, like that. I'm going to do little shimmers coming through the background as well. Not everywhere, just little shimmers of light. Like that. Okay. Go back into my purple now. Got to make it a bit thicker. It's quite thin. Get the water off my brush. Less moisture. More colour. Okay. It's a better colour, better shadow colour. I'm not going to stick it everywhere. I'm just going to pop it on top of the dark, the browns. It adds a little bit of shadowy variation. Like that. Come right across the bottom of that tree with that actually. Like that. All right. Now I'm going to add some light back into my water again. Some real shimmery sparkle on top. Like that. There's a little shimmer coming down here. And that will stay brighter now. Quite bright water down here. The end of the log. All right. It comes into the water down here a bit. All right, now I'm going to work on my little duckies. So one's a little brown head duck and one's a little light duck. So I'm going to grab my small brush because that brush is way too big. Grab my little bitty brush and I'm going to go in with, so I'm going to go in with a little reddy brown. Little red brown. Am I going to get a fine enough point on this? I hope so. Nope, I'm not. Let's use it. Let's use a teeny weeny itty bitty brush. That's got way too long a doodah. I don't want a long doodah on my brush. I need a little doodah. There we go. Just want a little doodah on my brush, little point. And I'm going to try paint my little duck head. That's a reddy brown. He's actually got a little white body. He's got his dark on top. Like that. And then a much lighter little body. So I'm actually going to pinch a little bit of my white from down here. Where's my white? There it is. Oops, it is. And I'll just let that mix in with that reddy brown on the paper. Ducks are just a suggestion. Okay. I might make him, he's got a little dark beak. His little beak. That. A bit of definition on his wing. And that'll keep it simple because they're not really the focus. But they're there. So I wanted to put them in. Okay, I'm going to go a little bit more of this reddy brown. I might add a bit of white to it. This little girl duck, She's a little bit lighter. Because yeah, the background's the focus, not the birds, but it's fun to put them in. It's fun to put them in. Just a little suggestion of do a little highlight on the top of the beak. Okay, and I'll do a little bit of dark underneath her tongue. Give her a lighter beak. Doesn't even look like a beak, but that's okay. Pop a bit of white on top of that beak again. Try and get it more of a point. That'll do. And a little dot for her eyes. Little white dot for their eyes. They don't need eyes that size. That's all right. I'll just pop a little highlight on her back. To de-dot his eye because that looked a bit silly. Get the highlight back on the back of this one. Like that. So they're just little duckies floating on the water. All right, go back to me trees. Your background's dry a bit now. And I can add some light grasses in. I'm just going to use this colour that I've already got on my page, and I'm going to go back in with this lighter colour over the top of my yellowy green. Pop that around. Here, there and everywhere. Like that. Now I've got to add, I want to add some more shadowy, I'm going to use this purple, I'm going to use this thin brush too, because there's branch shadows here, there and everywhere. Underneath the trees. Sort of off into the distance, all that grass in the background is in shadow. I'm just going to wet that and just lift that up a fraction. Just breaks the shadow up. All right, let's have a quick look. I've got to add some greens for the trees because they do have an olivey green. I'm going to go a bit of this green, just a bit of straight like a sap green. I'll add a bit of brown to it to make it a olive green. Because I want it sort of to be an olivey green like that. And then up in here, I'm just going to pop a small smattering of leaves, just using the side of my long skinny brush. Oops. Got a bit of a blob there, didn't I? But it's okay, doesn't matter. And leaves, they fall, they sort of go on a downward lilt. I'll just add a few of those in and around. And then on the top side of those, I want highlight. So I'm going to add a bit of yellow onto just some of these leaves to give them a little bit of sparkle. Just on one side of them, not everywhere. Just little dots of light. Just like that. I'm going to go with my super dark grey on the very bottom, this log closest to the water. And I'm going to darken up this shadow under these duckies, just a little. Just a little. I'll put little darker ripples underneath them, just to help create a little bit of movement around them. Like that. And that's it. I am going to say that is done. Bit of fun. I'm going to tidy up. I'm going to add a little tiny bit more of a highlight on the back of these little ducks, just so they stand out a fraction more, just a fraction more. Oops. Go try and pick that up clean my brush, take the moisture off, pick that up bit more of a beak on that one. All right, that'll do. I'm going to sign that, and then we're going to take the edges off. Sign that down here, bottom right. And I'm going to take the edges off, and let's have a look at how she turned out, eh? It's always fun when you do this. One of my favourite things is taking the edges off. Makes it look like it's framed already. Take that there. And there we go. There's a little painting of a little Australian bush scene. So I got to go to work. So I'm going to say thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed it. It was really fun trying to catch the light and darks and shadows and do a little duck. So have an awesome day. I will be back tomorrow for another video. And yeah, I'll see you then. Have a great